G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. First Moondog, last episode.
Minutes 10, it is what the managing director of the ABC, Mark Scott, describes as a career-defining void. It is, career-defining abyss. What else could that be? What could the MD be referring to? Well, other than the first dog on the moon, Christmas Panto. It's an annual highlight. It's like the Queen's message, but furrier.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
I'm Mark Colvin, and welcome to our very agile Christmas Panto. This innovative holiday season, we're inviting you to join us in a Christmas hackathon with friends and family by having an important conversation/ideas boom about the future of Australia. #Santa.
Excuse me, Mr. Colvin. I thought we were doing Christmas in the Caliphate this year. You know, and inclusion and tolerance and all that.
Don't interrupt, and anyway, I'm too important to talk to you.
Sorry.
And for the last time, please stop doing that stupid voice.
Sorry.
Sorry. In Australia, the telling of the Christmas story is one of our oldest and most loved traditions. And every year it starts the same way, with the Archangel Gabriel.
I'm the Archangel Gabriel, and I'm going to shirt front Herod and put a stop to all the killing of these babies.
It's Managing Director Mark Scott here. I love the program, but I've just got concern with the tone of that last comment.
Oh, well, sorry, Mr. Scott. Shall we put a trigger warning on it?
Look, let's just apply the Peppa Pig test, shall we? What would Peppa say?
Something Islamophobic?
Now, look, no. No, I really do not want to explain that at Senate estimates. Look, just get on with it.
Our story begins in Nazareth 2,000 years ago. Joseph works as an app developer, and Mary stays at home looking after the house and their alpaca Gordon.
Now, me again, isn't that a bit heteronormative?
Oh, well,
We'll do it, Mr. Colvin.
Oh, for God's sake, all right. Our story begins in Nazareth 2,000 years ago. Darren works as an app developer, and Craig stays at home looking after the house and their alpaca Gordon.
Hello. Shut up, Gordon.
Every year, it is the same thing.
Yes, that should be fine.
Are you going to keep doing that?
I do run the ABC, you know.
Anyway, they discover they are required to travel to Bethlehem for tax purposes.
There has never been a more exciting time to be a Nazarene. I'm just glad that we're having a mature conversation about tax reform. Shut up, Joseph. You haven't even read the white paper. I don't understand why we can't do it online. Have you seen the ATO website? And anyway, the internet hasn't been invented yet. Oh, of course. Well, they should have an innovation hackathon. And I'm warning you right now, I'm not riding an alpaca to Bethlehem. Don't worry, we'll get an Uber. I'm not riding one of those either.
When they arrived, there was no room at the inn. In fact, housing prices in Bethlehem were crazy, so someone had knocked down the inn and built 11 ugly townhouses.
It's all right. I just found us a lovely 3-bedroom holiday manger on Airbnb. There's even a centrally heated alpaca-y for Gordon. Shut up, Gordon.
And so, in the quiet of the 3-bedroom holiday manger, Craig gave birth to a startup.
That's right. It's a startup. We're calling it Christianity, and the tax implications are going to be very interesting.
Meanwhile, on a hillside...
What on earth is that?
It's a choir celestial.
No, on your phone.
Oh, it's a new app I developed, iSheep. I use it to keep track of the flock. A lot easier than standing around in the middle of the night. The little buggers have all got GPS trackers on them.
Ooh, sounds innovative.
Yes, I've got an enormous grant. The main problem is it keeps getting hacked by wolves.
Then 3 wise men turned up.
Is that frankincense halal certified?
It's certainly gluten-free.
Sorry, I'm like, guys, I didn't get the SMS about the gold in time, so I just bought a 20% non-refundable tax offset worth up to $200,000 for any investors, plus a 10-year exemption from capital gains tax if they hold shares in the company for 3 years.
And everyone lived happily ever after. Seriously, I'm not doing this rubbish again next year.
This has been a production of the First Dog on the Moon Institute, starring Dog and Frog, with special thanks to Patricia Carvelis, Michael Mackenzie, Mark Colvin, and Managing Director of the ABC, Mark Scott, with technical production from the fabulous Brendan O'Neill.
Sure, it's Christmas once more.
'Twas Christmas.
Well, happy summer solstice festival, because I'm not a Christian. To be a Christian, I would have to accept that Jesus Christ is my own personal saviour and that he died for the sins of the world, which means that he was nailed up for stuff that I haven't done wrong yet. Haven't got around to it, sorry. Does that mean I should go out and commit some sins so that Jesus did not die for nothing? That's why I'm not a Christian, see? I just can't get my head around all the various feedback loops within their little religion. And I'm not much into that cannibal warrior ritual where they rip their prophet to pieces after transmogrificating bread and wine into body and or flesh and blood, and then they eat him. No, I'm not a Christian, so happy summer solstice festival. And what do we got to talk about this summer solstice pending? Julie Bishop has agreed with 191 other foreign ministers in Paris to do everything they can to try and halt global warming at 1.5 degrees Celsius. We've already achieved 1 degree Celsius, and she was kind of going in there with a briefcase full of arguments as to why Australia really can't do anything much to sort of help and aid and assist in proportionately holding global warming to anything below 3.7 degrees Celsius, because if everybody in the world was to do what Australia plans to do and what Julie Bishop and Mal-Gollem Turning-Bull and Christopher Pyne and Barney Baby Joyce and what's his name, Brand Arse, they all say that they've been elected to do certain things, and if we do those certain things and everybody else was to do those same certain things, we'd be looking at 3.7 degrees Celsius of global warming. Julie Bishop has just signed on to trying to hold it to 1.5 degrees. So that's going to be really interesting to see how the Liberal Party reacts to that, and the National Party is probably going to foam at the mouth. She's also said in Paris, while at the same conference, that she confidently expects that Australia is going to continue to dig up and burn and export as much coal as we can possibly get a shovel into. There's a cognitive dissonance in there that's as bad or worse than bloody Tony Abbott telling everybody that the reason his government is such a great government is because his government's got such a great captain of the team, himself. Narcissus, thy name is Tony Abbott with a mirror. Yeah, so that's your kind of global warming conference outcome, is Julie Bishop has just sort of lied out both sides of her mouth simultaneously with a shit-eating grin on her face. I imagine. I haven't seen the look on her face while she was saying all these various things. I did hear John Kerry point out a couple of interesting points. He stood up there in Paris and he said, if every American was to walk to work and ride a bicycle and live on solar panels and never burn any fossil fuels ever again, it still would not be enough of an emissions reduction to prevent catastrophic global warming, because 65% of the emissions are coming from the developing world, not the developed world. So unless the developing world wants to be destroyed by global warming, actual global overheating is a better term for it, unless they want to be destroyed by the catastrophic effects of global overheating, then they've got to shut their mouth and stop trying to pretend that they are entitled to copy all of the stupid mistakes that the Western developed world did in creating the problem. The fact that the English and the Europeans and the Americans and the Japanese and some Chinese and a lot of other Asians have all got very rich on burning carbon That doesn't mean that India and the rest of China and Brazil are invited to now burn as much carbon as they want because they're entitled to get as rich as the other dickheads just because they're humans. No, they're not. And I think what John Kerry might have hinted at, intimated, suggested, put in between the lines is if you people don't fucking pull your heads in, we will bomb you back to the Stone Age rather than let you kill the planet. Just guessing, you know. And guess what? All of the wars seem to be happening in third world countries, don't they? Developing nations. Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan. Yeah, we don't have tanks shooting it out over the oil fields in Texas. We have tanks shooting it out over the oil fields in Syria. We don't have jet fighters bombing the North Sea oil platforms. We have jet fighters bombing the oil refineries in Syria. An interesting idea. Maybe that's what went on in Paris. The Western world said to the developing world, you will do what you're told or we'll bomb you bastards back to the Stone Age because we don't want to be destroyed by the storms that you guys are going to create with the carbon you want to emit. That's an interesting little take on the Christmas message. And of course, down here in Australia, whereas I was foretold within the prophecy, the Liberal Party is going to have a lot of trouble getting the National Party to stand still for this. We've already had a situation where a National Party land clearing fetishist shot an environmental control officer from Tamworth in the back after kidnapping him all day, and he's trying to plead not guilty to murder. That's actually an act of political terrorism. You know, like when you shoot a government official because you don't agree with the law he's being paid to enforce, that's called terrorism. You know, it is anarchist politics, it's terrorism. It's trying to make people so frightened that they will change their ways in case you kill them. So to deal with this wave of terrorism in Australia, where the rednecks are shooting at the governments because, you know, they don't want you to be allowed to kill every tree on the continent, Mal-Gollem Turning-Bull has decided that Australia is now the land of post-sentence indefinite detention. Now, the thin edge of the wedge with this one was about 10 or 15 years ago when they decided that some sex offenders, having finished their sentence in jail, appeared to show no remorse. They had not rehabilitated. So therefore, we just need to have some extra special facility and some legal loophole so that they can be kind of detained rather than released back into the community because we think that they're going to go and reoffend. We can't prove they're going to reoffend. They can't prove they're not going to reoffend. And instead of innocent until proven guilty, they are detained on the presumption that they might be going to reoffend. Then they decided that there were some violent criminals. Oh, they murdered somebody, they might go and murder somebody else. So they're going to be put on the indefinite detention list. Now, having succeeded in being allowed to remove somebody's citizenship if they're a dual citizen, now they've decided that Australian citizens found guilty of terrorism who don't appear to be safe to release, they're going to go on the indefinite detention list. So this is not a nation of laws anymore. The police no longer exist to act on complaints from the public and to apprehend suspects and bring them before the court so the evidence can be tried. Oh, shit, no. The police are allowed to shoot on sight if they think you're a terrorist. If they convict you of anything that's got political overtones, like spray painting government property was going to be a terrorist act, which would cause somebody to lose their citizenship. So any broad brush, shallow offence against the state, and you're going to be called a terrorist. And if you're a terrorist, you might only get a 6-month jail sentence, but you might reoffend. There's a policeman somewhere or a policewoman who is being paid to be afraid of what you might do next. And the politicians keep saying to them, what do you want to be paid to be scared of next week? Oh, terrorism, recidivism. We don't live in Australia anymore. They have dismantled it around our bloody ears. I told you, Johnny Howard brought in a new ruling class, the White South Afrikaners, who had more than $1 million and didn't want to live in a free and democratic South Africa because they were so used to a slave-based dictatorship. They've come here, they've infiltrated Australia's power structure, politics, education system, and they're turning us into a police state. They've done it. The state of indefinite detention. Straya, mate. Straya. Mal-Gollem Turning-Bull. Mal-Gollem. The evil construct. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Happy Summer Solstice Festival. Ciao.